Are you content with where you're at right now?
Absolutely not. You need to always be grinding. You gotta push to the next level every day. I hate feeling, relaxed. I'm always stressed. I'm always under a lot of pressure, and I'm always like, things can fall apart at any time. Man, this is controversial.
Does it change based on the type of set you're playing?
I feel like for him it does.
Like if you're gonna do a live set versus a DJ set. Okay, but you're saying controversial, so I want to hear this.
So, the elements, according to Hugh Hefner, to a good party is good music, good booze, and a lot of girls. If you have those elements in your pregame and the vibe is there, it's going to carry on.
Welcome back to a new episode of Back in Body Hurts podcast. I'm your host, Christine, for this week. And to my left, I have Sunny.
Hi, everyone.
And to my right, I have Yeekern.
Hey.
So, in this new episode, we have our special guest. And
our first international guest.
Yes. A good friend of mine for quite a few years now. Been a long way. And we'll have you see and hear who he is.
Miami, are you ready? 3, 2, 1, let's go!
I love that drop. That drop's so good of the song.
Thank you.
So welcome, Brandon, DREAMDRIVER, all the way from New York City.
Yo, thanks for having me, guys.
We brought New York to Toronto.
Miami mindset, let's go.
Miami mindset. It's all party night.
So for those who might not know who you are, please introduce yourself.
Hey guys, what's up? My name is Brandon, artist named DREAMDRIVER. I'm a touring EDM artist, specializing in speed house and hard dance. And yeah, that's my spiel.
Nice.
What made you choose speed house or hard dance?
So being straight up, a lot of music's really slow, and I need shit fast. My lifestyle is like slam an energy drink, like yell into the sky every morning, and we go. That's it.
So pretty much music style matches like your brain pace.
Yeah, it's hectic and chaotic, and it's just like forward to the floor because that's how I like it.
Do you drink energy drinks while you're on the decks?
Do I? Do I?
So you do.
So one thing, what brings you to Toronto this weekend? You're our first international guest, which is pretty sick.
For sure.
So Toronto. Basically, since I'm going to be traveling on tour, I'm actually missing this really cool concert at the Avenged Sevenfold tour with like Sullivan King and Poppy. And I was like, the only show I can catch is the Toronto one, which is really close, about 10 hours away from my house. So I caught a flight, flew over, and I was like, if I'm here anyway, might as well hang out.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah,
it's a 50-minute flight, by the way.
Yeah.
So
it's funny. It's a 50-minute flight, but like 10-hour drive.
Because you go around.
And the funny thing always about flying, anyways, is like half the flight is the takeoff and landing.
Yeah.
Like the actual time you're in the air is only like 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
So
that's why it's like New York's so close.
Yeah.
But it's not really.
So currently, Brandon's on his first tour, Anime Rave tour.
Well,
right?
Technically second, because the Anime Rave was the first one I did last year. Then this year it's for the Neo City tour. This is the first DREAMDRIVER tour.
Like specific,
Congrats.
you're the headliner, right?
Yeah.
Nice.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
So for our listeners, this man has recently opened for RL Grime in New York City, and he's also playing at Miami Music Week with Elefante, Atep, Huang, and a few other artists. He's currently has his residency at Mission Nightclub in New York City, for all you know. Yeah, I'm always there, so.
Nice. That's an exciting 2024. Did you like expect that to happen, or like obviously you had your album drop in January, right? How's been the reception?
So honestly, it's interesting because I'm going the whole independent route, and going the independent route means it's really like guerrilla marketing. You're building you're winning the hearts and minds of people when you meet them, and then the music comes second. Which is really challenging because a lot of times you have labels that push out music, and I have like one track on a label and more in the pipeline, but for my first body of work, it was really crucial that I owned it all myself.
Yeah.
Nice.
I mean, ownership is a good thing in music industry.
Well, right now, I think the growing trend is a lot of artists, even bigger ones, are starting their own labels. Instead of signing on to like well-known ones, everyone's doing their own thing.
I think it's just easier to do that, no? Is it?
I think it helps with branding. In the end, it's all about branding, right?
I think they put more attention on you with that, right?
So when you have your own label, you have a lot of control of the vision. A lot of times when you sign a track to a label, you're cutting out a lot of royalty. There's such little money in the industry, and you need money to keep new things in the pipeline, pay for vocalists, pay for production, pay for even just the shows, pay for the marketing. And when labels are taking a big portion of that, your bottom line is hurt. Then your creative freedom is sometimes stifled. They may say, hey, this track is not good for this brand. Then you have to shop around for a label, or, hey, we can't release it right now. You want to release it now because you have 3 or 4 other tracks that you need to release this year, and you don't want to be held up with that. The contracts vary. It could be like, hey, when you put the song out, you can't promote anything else for a month. And that's not good, especially if you have a rapid release plan.
Yeah.
It really kind of depends on what you're trying to execute. So, yeah.
That makes sense. Yeah, you're on your own terms, which is like the big thing nowadays, right? Like you control your own schedule. The control. It's all about control.
Yeah, it's all about control. Yeah.
So I think before we dive into your album, your upcoming tour, how'd you get started in the scene?
Oh man. Okay. I actually never wanted to be a DJ. I had
that's rare, isn't that like what most people? Everyone's just
Exactly.
thinking about nowadays. I would just want to be a DJ.
So I was actually chasing after this really obscure girl that no one knows. Her name is Selena Gomez. And I figured if I learned music, joined a rock band, became famous, I'd end up marrying this girl.
You'll be the next Justin Bieber.
Yeah. So unfortunately, that didn't pan out. So as what everyone else does when something doesn't pan out, they become a DJ.
All roads lead to becoming a DJ.
Is that a new slogan we have to put on a shirt?
No.
I think we'll have to think about that one.
Yeah, we probably do.
But literally, that's how I got into the music space. The whole DJ thing happened accidentally. It was one of those, hey, I was a promoter in college. I was a degenerate party frat boy. And basically after graduation, someone messaged me like, hey, you want to join this collective of, like local DJs? And I was like, bro, I don't even know how to DJ, but whatever. Take a chance, learn how to DJ, play my first show, and the pandemic hits. Once the pandemic hits, I dived into the online streams. And with the online streams, what was cool about it and what I loved about it was that you had full creative control. Now, full creative control, that meant, hey, I come from a rock band background. Obviously I didn't get big enough to meet Selena Gomez in my rock band phase, but hey, dude, maybe I can meet Selena Gomez as a DJ. I mean, Drew Taggart took her out on a date. So with a new vision in mind, during the pandemic, I started putting together these virtual sets, but I brought a band out. I bought lights and lasers, haze machines, built up mini stages in my basements, or eventually did bigger productions where I would rent out rooms and spaces to set up stuff. I've done multi-stage type of productions where we shoot and film in different places and stitch that together to make a whole performance set.
Did you do YouTube, Twitch?
It was Twitch.
It was all Twitch. You start off with no following?
Bro, there was I was doing this thing with like a collective, and we got maybe 20, at most 50 people in the stream. But the people that I connected with on the internet doing that stuff, that laid the foundation blocks. And people were like, who is this guy doing something unique and different? And then when the pandemic lifted, I made a conscious decision to travel out and meet these people and establish these micro networks in these different cities and regions. And that kind of basically put me on the map to where I am today.
It's just like the working world, right?
Yeah,
a lot of times it's not what you know, it's who you know.
Exactly.
It's essentially what it is.
I think one thing I really admire about Brandon is he puts in the grunt work, and he's still doing it now that he even has like a following. So even last night he was down to meet up with some locals and just talk to them and get to know how their lives are. And I think that's very personable and very admirable.
Yeah.
So yeah.
For sure. Do you have a picture of those of your setup, your Twitch setup?
Yeah.
I do. Do you guys want me to pull out my phone? Or
No. Just
no.
send it to us, and then we'll put it up
We'll
when
put it on the
video.
video.
Yeah,
We'll
we'll put it on the video.
I have some really good clips. You guys will love it. Yeah.
All
right.
We'll put them in the video, which will be pretty sick.
Hell yeah.
One thing about that, so we talked about previously on the pod, one thing we miss about the pandemic is we had some, once the pandemic ended, everyone's back to touring, but we missed those live sets that people were doing. The amount of quality that went into them was actually insane. Some people I mean, it was like the only thing for DJs to do. No one was making money, even big artists. And then they put out a live stream where they know people are watching, and just help promote their brand. It was kind of crazy. Like, do you miss any of that now that you've started?
I miss every second of that. So, unfortunately, yeah, the pandemic sucked for a lot of people. I'll be the first one to admit it did not suck for me. And in fact, because of the pandemic, I was able to really discover kind of who I wanted to be and what I wanted to bring to the table. And the pandemic was also a great equalizer because, you know, a lot of people got content with, you know, where they were. A lot of DJs in the scene who were a lot bigger, they didn't capitalize on that opportunity and that momentum to be like, hey, I can do something new and be innovative and bring something to the table. And me being a nobody at that time, I was like, you know what? I'm going to go for this and I'm going to do something that no one else has done just to make a statement. And hey, I think it's working out. So
that's great. As I said, we're excited to see what happens in 2024.
Yeah. It does spark like the full creative control, right? And then the pandemic sort of say it sets like a ground zero in a way, and everybody can start fresh. Yeah, you have your own label, you can start your new label, you can and then you have this platform you can actually promote yourself without like publishing, and just everybody can just see it, right? You don't need to go through the ropes of going through a publication and then get it approved by multiple people before it gets released to the public, right? So yeah, I think Twitch made a lot of impact. It's kind of sad that you miss it, but hopefully your creativity can still go on. And how did you learn how to do DJs?
So I'm going to be completely honest, guys. I did not know how to DJ at all during the pandemic. I would actually edit every song to just have an idea of like, all right, there's like 8 beats here, so I'll just click this button during this part. And I would re-record sets for like 5-6 hours straight because I didn't know what the hell I was doing. Then with that, plus a little bit of audio engineering magic, I was able to make it sound a little bit cohesive. But when it came push come to shove to like a little show, I kind of had a close friend of mine just show me the ropes, and I got it down in about 30 minutes. Then doing this for 3 years later, you kind of figure out how to do things. But it's really easy. It's very straightforward.
So you've been DJing for 3 years.
2.5. 2.5.
Doesn't seem like it, so it
2.5,
seems longer.
yeah.
That trajectory is really good though, from where you like started to like where you are now, like also like being a resident at an actual club.
And he's been a resident for like over a year, so like he was only DJing for like about a year-ish then before that. So talk on the topic of residency, how do you get gigs and how do you get booked?
I'm not the best person to ask because every opportunity or a lot of the big ones literally landed on my lap. I put myself out there, and my first ever like residency, if you will, is a spot in K-Town called Chorus and Karaoke, and it was a bar area. But one of the guys who's a very good king of K-Town, like battle DJ Sanchez, got to shout him out. He extended a hand. He's like, hey, I need someone who plays EDM for this spot. And, I took it. We just started running with it. Eventually, I pitched myself. I always pitch value in what I bring, like numbers, pull, the type of music, making sure that, my brand value is of worth to whatever establishment. Then what eventually happened in terms of getting gigs is that I built relationships with artists and different managers and different venue spots. And I kind of let that do the talking. So a lot of times all the big shows I've landed were literally me being invited. I get a text message. Hey, can you play the show? Sure. Hey, we want to add you to this lineup. Cool. Yeah.
Do you consider yourself an extrovert?
I think so, yeah.
Okay. Because I know a lot of people who start DJing, they initially start producing. Like they just love the music and they start producing, and then DJing comes after for a lot of people. But you probably met a lot of people in the scene.
Yeah.
A lot of them are very nerdy.
Yeah.
So like obviously with some of them could be introverted too. Like getting up on stage is like
it's a big thing.
A lot of people, like I've seen other interviews, and everyone talks about that stage fright the first time they DJ. And some people, it's just like once you get over that, it's like every time you still get those butterflies.
Oh, I got a good one. So I used to be the lead singer and lead guitar player in my own rock band, and I wrote a lot of songs. So I was used to being on stage. And back in those days, like you weren't singing over your vocals already. You were singing raw and live. So you had to be good or you're sounding like crap out in public.
So that got you prepared quite well.
So
for
if
sure.
you've sang in front of people many times and and I would consider myself more like an okay singer, but I have a pretty big range. So I can hit a lot of tenor notes, but you have to be hitting big notes every night. And if you mess up, you mess up. That kind of, once you get past that hump, you're like, all right, dude, this is easy. This is pressing buttons.
And he sings during his shows too, so yeah. Like your DJ sets, you
It's a
sing.
live show, yeah.
Yes.
Nice.
So,
Because I was just about to ask, like, oh, do you sing in your production and then play it on your DJ? But now
No,
that
he sings
now that-
live.
I do.
Yes. So, what are some difficulties that you face, like coordinating your tour? And do you travel with your gear?
Well,
right?
we can break that down. So obviously you got your tour coming up.
Yes.
What tour did you have last year? Anything?
So, my buddy Alex Cade, he did an anime rave tour, and at the time I'm a big anime fan. I don't want that to be my main branding, but I thought what he was doing was really cool because he was independent. He's doing something like, hey, I'm gonna do my own thing, and I was like, I respect that. I love people who are independent and building their own scene. And I kind of pitched him the idea like, hey, I play around the country already. I'm support a lot of big EDM artists, and I have a residency, so I have a lot of experience in this field. I can bring value where your shows will crush it. And basically my job is to get the crowd to a point where they're from being socially awkward to really hyped, and I just finish my set and hand it off to them, be like, hey, they're all yours. So that was my value. It went really well. And once we got through that and we finished that tour, I was like, hey, I kind of learned a lot of things. Let me figure out my own one. I had built relationships already through other things outside of that. And now having the experience behind me, I was like, I think I know what to do to pull this off. So that's how
the Neo City, after you launched it started. I said, we'll have images of the tour dates on the screen.
For sure.
It's quite exciting. Honestly, I find that trajectory like quite remarkable because usually people start like more locally. And I know you've done very successful locally, but then to go already on a tour after your first EP is pretty sick.
Yeah. Like I say, it's who you know.
Yeah, it is who you know, right?
Yeah.
Like especially like the promoters trust you too. That I think that's the thing, right? Based on your connections, because you're going to different cities, but your reach may not be that far.
Yeah.
But like if you have that small little circle, even if you're playing to, I don't know, depending on the gig size, even if it's like 100 people per se, it could work for that environment that you're booked in, which is great.
So I actually have a really interesting way I approach this. Now, a lot of times, in order to build a scene, you need to bring something to the table. A lot of these different markets tend to have a lot of DJs come through, but not always is it something fresh and something unique. Me having a unique style of music and also having built the trust of promoters from me building relationships over years, this is like me saying like, hey, take a chance on me. Let me prove my value to you. Obviously, that's where the stress and pressure comes in because I'm putting a lot down to make sure this thing is successful. I wouldn't say I'm making money from this tour. I'm making, personal capital and people capital.
But
from
the
this.
trust is there.
Yeah.
I think that's the thing that from what I'm getting, the trust is there. Like
Yeah.
these, like you've made these connections, you've established them. They've seen you. They're like, I'm good to invest in this. I'm good to trust this. And as what you just said, it's a lot of probably out of your own pocket too to make it work, right?
Yeah.
But you have to invest in yourself. That's the number one person that you have to invest
100%.
in. It's a similar thing we're going to, right? In order for us to make this podcast.
Make the podcast work.
Yeah,
we have to have a niche.
We have to have a niche. We have to invest in ourselves. We have to believe in ourselves too.
Absolutely.
And that's the main thing, right? So we admired that quite a bit.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
What do you say your niche is for your DJing career?
So I think sonically I have a very unique sound where I'm trying to bring the energy of a rock live show into the context of an EDM set, but it's also flavored with Asian undertones with things that I like. That could be like anime, that could be K-pop, but I'm not like the basic anime, the basic K-pop. I'm like a really deep fan of those mediums and those, you can say like cultural movements.
Right.
So me having a deep appreciation for that and then being able to incorporate it into my platform where I get to play around the country, I think it's really cool. I get
Yeah.
to push something that I like forward.
And that's the main thing. You have to like it, right? That's the main thing. Like with all these genres out there, I mean, you could just jump on the bandwagon. What's popular?
Yeah,
But if you don't enjoy
like
it, what's
ghost
the
producing.
point?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, if you don't enjoy it, what's the point?
exactly. Yeah.
Because it's like three different spectrums, right? You have your rock, you have your anime, and then you have fast house. Like, how do they all
it's
coincide?
such a weird combo.
Yeah,
Like,
it
it's
is.
such an interesting combo too to me, because usually I find like a lot of like from the scene, a lot of rock people go to dubstep.
Yeah, they
which
do.
makes sense. Like I
Like
know a lot.
BTSM,
I-
BTSM has like the rock aspect element, the anime aspect element, and then the dubstep element.
But it also goes with the scene. A lot of the fans are from that scene. Like a lot of the groups I go with, I've been to Lost Lands before. The group I go to Lost Lands with, they all started in the rock scene,
Yeah.
and just navigated dubstep kind of. A lot of people like Sullivan King, right? Like transitions.
And also
Yeah,
Skrillex.
he was just here.
Skrillex.
Yeah, Skrillex
That's
too,
true.
with his old sound too. Like, it's just it was like a natural progression. But like for you, it's like you're doing rock, anime, and then Speed House.
Rock, anime, K-pop with Speed House.
It's like whoa.
How do you what kind of challenges did you find when mashing all of those up together?
So it's hard to get booked when you have a very unique genre that's like, do you fit in the dubstep stage? Do you fit in the house stage?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And learning to get better at pitching yourself with that, or not pitching, but building your relationships with the people and the powers that be who determine those things, that is the real challenge, because the way that you market it and carry this is how people perceive you. Now, I keep tweaking my branding. I'm always like, every year it's kind of like a new thing. Like, you know, I was really hard in the K-pop thing last year. Towards the end of last year, it was more the anime thing. This year, it's like the DREAMDRIVER thing. But then 2 years before that, it was really just like, you know, the club party boy thing. You have to keep tweaking your branding as your audience grows and develops, and as you grow and develop.
So at your residency at Mission, is it your brand that you're able to play with no leeway?
So I would say it's a push and pull.
Okay.
Me having DJ experience where I've, you know, done multiple 4-hour sets and, you know, 3 days in a row, you have to crowd read a little bit, but you have to control the journey and force your brand in there. There are a set of rules you have to play by, but you can also break those rules if you know how to navigate them. And there are times where I do it well, and there are times that maybe I didn't do it as well. And you just got to learn from those experiences.
How tough is it to do a 4-hour set?
I don't mind it. Time can fly, but nowadays I'm not really interested in that unless it's a 4-hour set of DREAMDRIVER things.
Oh, like just
so like
you,
for
you
you,
able
yeah.
like just having fun more, like not that makes sense.
So the difficulty would lie on like your preparation, right?
Yeah. I like playing mostly sets comprised of most of my own songs and remixes. It's really hard for me to want to play someone else's music because it just feels like I'm not putting myself out there. So if there's a song I love, I'm probably going to take it, use AI to extract some stems, and then build my own version of it, my own remix or whatnot, and then put that out there.
Right.
Just circling back to your tour, because it's like your first tour. What's the biggest challenges you faced? Like as
I'm doing this like all the logistics and planning by myself. Like obviously I do have a little bit of help from my close friends, but at the end of the day, you're the one, you know.
you're in control.
Yeah,
in
it's all about being in control and really leading that from the front.
And how much gear do you travel with? You have your guitar and everything all the time, or?
So it depends on the show itself. So some shows, if it's just a DJ show, it's just a USB. I don't really need much, but I do want to have the live show where I bring out, you know, the money guns, like, you know, bring out the guitars. For guitars, you need like your pedal board and whatnot. Some bigger shows, I'm bringing multiple guitars with guitar changes. There's a lot of tech that goes into it and a lot of like redundancy you need to prepare for.
So with the Neo City tour, is every stop a live show?
It's a mix.
It's a mix.
Yeah.
So some people are like, "Hey, can you play a DJ set?" Some people are like,
it's not really, hey, can you play a DJ set? It's more like, can the venue handle the
"Oh,
setup?
okay, that makes sense. That makes sense."
So do you ask that question first, or do they come up with the requirements?
You know what? It makes sense because like good example is I think Jana is on her tour right now, and then some stops are live sets and some stops are DJ sets.
Yeah,
so,
and he opened for.
oh, you
Yeah,
did for the New York stop?
Yeah, she
nice.
she
Oh,
messaged me the
nice.
day before and I got invited. One of her support artists, the special guest Chill, is one of my friends back from the New York City days when she was also a Mission resident, and she was like, hey, like this would be a good person to do the opening slot, and then that's how I got the gig the day before.
Wow.
That's amazing. That's
amazing. Yeah.
Your personality shows, right?
Yeah.
To make these contacts. As I said, I personally love Shill. I love what she's doing for the speed house genre because I find it's very unique.
So
it's very fun.
Queen of Speed House, yes.
And she's been in Toronto. She was just here for
2
Jana
weeks ago.
Stop.
Yeah.
But she was here before, and I forget which show it was. I think it was the Abstract show.
I
What's
think it was
it?
Abstract, yeah.
Yeah, Abstract show. I think it was on October.
She's on tour now, I think.
Yeah, she's on tour
She's gonna
now
come back.
with John. Oh yeah,
She's gonna come back for her own.
Oh yeah, I heard she's gonna announce it.
Yeah.
But when
Surprised, can't announce anything about that, but just New York City.
Okay.
How do you travel with your gear if they allow you to set up all these things? Is it difficult?
Oh man. Okay, so for this tour, I am still figuring it out. I am driving my gear to the Toronto show next Friday here, but for some of the fly gigs, I am trying to find a guitar like vault. That's what they call them, to throw your stuff in. I've flown with gear like a guitar case, and you put it, in the undercarry, and they've lost like my wireless unit before. I've had to I was in Los Angeles. I was like, yo, I need to get a new wireless for the show. I bought one from Line 6 and it was garbage. It was a great setup where it was easy plug and play, but it kept dropping out and sounded horrible. But you just got to be prepared for that. So I am this time traveling with redundancies in my suitcase. So my bag's going to be heavy. I'm probably not going to have enough clothes, but we'll make it work.
I mean, it's cheaper to buy clothes than it is to buy a wireless.
Exactly.
Yeah.
that is facts.
Yeah.
So, this is next question. So how do you navigate without a tour manager, and how much time does your girlfriend put into this? Because
man.
she's a good friend of mine.
She does a lot, booking my flights and helping me navigate the admin stuff. I actually hate doing admin stuff more than anything.
I think most people do.
I think most people do,
I
yeah.
think that's with anyone who starts the business. They never realize how much admin stuff there is. Even when we start this podcast, there's a
Yeah.
lot of admin stuff
We just thought that we just plug and play and then we just talk and whatnot. And next thing you know, we have a list.
we have a
Kanban board. We have
a Trello
everything,
board.
yeah.
We have like to-do lists, all
And
this stuff.
I also know sometimes when I'm messaging him on Instagram, it's actually her, but I don't know.
Yeah.
Nice.
It's gotten to the point where I'm sometimes really busy that she has to double up as me so I can focus on whatever thing I need to focus on.
Love you.
It's an experience now we face too because we all have access to our Instagram. It's just like, someone please respond to this message. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
But okay, so with that, I mean, with all this, you still have a full-time job, right?
I do have a full-time job,
God.
yes.
Do you want to tell the users or the viewers what?
So
He's a corporate slave.
yeah, I'm an associate director at an ad agency. I manage like millions of dollars of digital media with the team. The team is global, but our team bases our operations in New York. The reason I do it well is because I've been doing that job for 5 years, so I have a lot of comfort and experience and rapport with the team where I have flexibility and I know how to get my stuff done when it needs to get done. That's really it. It's just experience and capability and years of it.
Would you say your main job contributes to how you be able to sell yourself in the EDM scene
So
or in the music industry?
I think it really just funds what I need to do because I need that paycheck. I don't make any money from music really.
But it's the connections, right? Because like when you're doing ad work, you know how to market yourself. You know what words to use.
When you put it that way, yeah, I would say let's just say I've met some very, very famous artists through meeting CEOs of different companies, just off the cuff, is really random by being in that space, and understanding marketing and understanding how to do your value proposition, build a media plan, and kind of plan out your marketing strategy to really penetrate the markets you want to hit.
Mm-hmm.
That really gave me an edge when it came to how I want to do my positioning and
For sure,
yeah.
right?
For
You
sure,
can
yeah.
literally apply what you're doing on your day job to.
Yeah.
It's a challenge. I know we're referencing the pod. It's a challenge we face because a lot of our main jobs have nothing to do with a raving scene at all.
Exactly.
But it pays the bills, right?
Yeah,
So
it pays the bills.
It pays the bills. But we touched upon briefly your production of the sets. So do you want to share with our listeners anything you're planning to do for the Neo City tour?
Oh yeah. Okay, so
Build some hype.
yeah, so for the Neo City tour, I'm playing a lot of my own stuff. Obviously, the stuff that you hear on the Neo City album. Towards the later stops, I'm going to be introducing the stuff that's coming out on Neo City Part 2. There you go. That's the official announcement to be saying that.
Ooh, let's see. Do we get any more details on that?
Can't share any more on that.
Toronto DREAMDRIVER set, please.
There is going to be a little bit of, a touch of anime stuff, a touch of K-pop stuff, obviously to stay true to brand. But to make every show unique, I am playing slightly different sets depending on the region and the venue. And I do have a legit DJ background where I've freestyled a lot. So it's one of those, I'm actually going to play different songs and probably won't do things in the same order because, hey, like you don't want to play the same thing every night. That's boring. So
we go to a lot of like 2-day, 3-day like shows that are like, oh, they all sound the same.
Essentially, at one point, you're just like, well, I find that it's funny. We mentioned, so we had the worship tour coming up, which is the drum and bass one. And I tell people, oh, yeah, you're going to hear like the same song 4 times in a row. Because
they're all four people will play the same thing.
Each of them are going to play. Like, I probably hear Badadam 4 times.
You hear rhyme dust every set.
Every set.
Every set, yes. So have you ever played like 2 days back to back?
I did. So, well, I've actually done like 4 days in 4 cities back to back.
Oh, nice. In 4 cities?
Yeah.
In 4 different cities? Or,
yeah.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Do you want to dive into that? See,
it's like 4 consecutive days.
I did.
That sounds like our itinerary right now.
Yeah.
Or raving.
We're not making money off that though.
So the anime rave tour, I was still doing that while doing my residency. So I'd be like flying out with them, then flying back to New York, playing a show, then going out to a party the next day. And I was, that's 4 or 5 days in a row, but I was used to that. Then going to work after that. And I obviously, that's one of those things where like preparation, meets opportunity. So if you're prepared to handle that, you're in a healthy state of mind, physically and mentally. You're in more of a, I guess, prepared musical headspace where you're like, hey, I have this amount of energy and I can exert myself here and here and here, but not here. You know how to strategize how you're going to play out those 4 days. If you're really extreme like me, you go ham and party like every single one of those and you have your remedies from being experienced.
I think the way our brains works is very similar. Yeah. I think that's why I'm able to do, I know everyone asks me, how am I still standing? I think it's the same way.
It's
just
vibes.
It's literally vibes, but vibes in my head running clockworks.
So for listeners and viewers trying to visualize his life right now, he's basically on tour and then back in New York to have his residency jobs, and then he's partying in between all of this with the corporate job and producing all his sets. So yeah,
that's a lot.
It's a lot.
I've actually
it puts us to shame.
It puts me to shame for sure.
Puts us to shame.
So I've actually stayed over for like almost a week at his place, him and his girlfriend's place before, and I slept in his studio and he'd just be up in the middle of the night, and I'm just like, oh my gosh. Yeah, a lot of work.
Yeah,
Impressive.
Impressive. So for your 4-day bender tour, oh, could I say bender or working? I guess it's a work bender.
Work bender.
Yeah, work bender. Do you actually sleep because of like the amount of traveling, the amount of like energy?
I actually do get good sleep. I can sleep pretty easily, like on the floor, sitting up on a plane. That's a skill set I've had, and just by nature of being so exhausted, you just kind of knock out like this. And because of that, I go into deep sleep, and then when you wake me up, I'm like, I could either be like still like blasted, but ready to go,
Yeah.
Vibes.
Vibes.
I followed.
Vibes in another sense.
Yeah.
I followed one of his I guess when we were in LA. What was it? Oh my gosh! So we did like EDC Vegas, and then we all were in LA, and then me and his girlfriend had a sorority convention, and then he would during our convention it's like 9 a.m. to like 6 p.m. and then we'd have dinner, and then we'd get ready for like to go to a show or something, or he's playing. So then I think he drove us down to the OC. We'd party till like 4 or 5 a.m. and then 6 a.m. he'd wake up for work, and he'd be like working in the washroom or in the hotel room, and all I hear is him on meetings. And then 9 a.m. we like go out again. Like
9 p.m. we go out again. Yeah.
Time efficiency.
Jesus.
That's
Wow.
that's impressive.
That
Right?
is
But that's what you
impressive,
have to
yeah.
do.
I have
right?
a funny story. I actually had a show, the last show of the We Touch Grass tour, or like the summer run. We ended up in
I love that
Vegas.
name though.
Yeah.
The touch grass.
So that was the first one I did. This is a good story. So I played my set in Vegas. I got food afterwards, and then I actually met up with the Arm & Hammer guys because they're playing their residency, or not residency yet, but they're playing one of the nightclubs. So we were out together, we're out drinking, and this is Sunday, guys. So I already played a show. We continued. We went out. They're playing their set. Their set ends at like 3 a.m. Then like we all went out to an after party in one of their hotel rooms. It's like 4 o'clock, 4:30, and they're like, yo, let's go to another spot. And I was like, yo, guys, I have to go. I have to sign on to work in like an hour and a half. Logged on to work, my coworkers are laughing at me because they saw my stories. Like, yo,
I get that all the time right now too, because I don't block. I do have a great boss, but I do block her. But I don't block a lot of my coworkers. And then they just look at me on like a Friday and they're like, "Are you okay?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm fine." I was just in Buffalo yesterday, nothing big.
crazy.
Rounding back, I wanted to ask about like treatment from vendors, because I know sometimes you have to like deal with them. Some of them are like difficult, but some of them like they treat you very well, right? So like, what's the differences?
Like more how your journey's been
Yeah.
too, right? Because like you obviously started like during the pandemic, and then you're obviously good at marketing yourself. So
I got some good stories. So I guess I can say it here because we're international. I've been cursed out in Korean before
in New York.
by some let's say some people I've worked with, and I was like, and for stuff that wasn't even my fault. But I'm American, and I argue back. I am like, I'm gonna fight back.
you ain't taking that shit from no one.
I don't take shit from no one. For better or for worse, yes, it's like kind of the rock star mentality, and will it bite me in the ass? It hasn't yet. But it's also like, hey, like you got to fight tooth and nail for things. So if someone's kind of being a dick to you, like it's all about power and leverage. If you have power and leverage over someone, then you could, dominate the scenario. If you don't, you should figure out how to pivot and fight guerrilla warfare. But that's all I can say.
Also, like setting your boundaries, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm pretty hard on that. There are people that I call they're ops, but I'll call them out when I make drill music. But when we get to that point, we'll cross the bridge.
I don't know how much you can say about this, but for your upcoming tour, has it been a pretty smooth process working with the organizers?
Oh yeah, actually, the upcoming tour, it's built off of people that I really like.
Like,
I'm actually so excited to be working with all these different people, because guess what? When you build your own community, you build your own network, you build your own scene, you can invest and put your effort into the people and places you love.
Yeah, and then they will pay back the effort with the effort they're doing.
Yeah, exactly
this
that.
is a question I have. Just, do you have a Discord?
I don't.
You ever thought about making one? Because I've seen that's very popular nowadays.
Oh man.
I guess it really depends on how, popular you are as well. I know, once again, you have a tour coming up, so it's pretty.
Speaking of that, like if you don't have a Discord, like how do you reach out to your audience? Like how?
Oh, his DMs are like
my
crazy.
DMs are crazy. Okay.
Wow.
I did a year and a half as doing door to door. So I would knock on people's door and pitch them. And because I've done so much of that, talking to so many strangers, my DMs are crazy. I'm just DMing people like, hey, what's up? How's it going? Or hey, how you feeling? And then just build relationships like that. That's really it. I wish I could tell you like I had a better outreach, but it's straight up just like person to person.
Yeah, I guess it's like no fear mentality, which is like, once again, everyone has that fear. Like,
Yeah.
even nowadays with nowadays generation, no one wants to pick up a phone call because like,
No, he
or
talks on the
no
phone.
one wants to make a phone call either, right? Because
I prefer to
like,
make
He
a phone
makes a
call.
lot of
and that's the
calls,
thing.
yeah.
That's a different breed compared to a lot of
exactly.
people.
I think you make a lot more points across when you have a phone call.
You can hear the tone and everything.
Yeah,
so.
exactly.
So yeah, your next. So I think we talked about this personally. Your next big show on your tour is at YOLO Nightclub in San Francisco on April 13th. So which goes into the topic of like I wanted to explore with you. We've spoken about this personally as well. West Coast versus East Coast American AAPI DJs and Canadians. So you're gonna be on the West Coast, right?
Before you start, what's an AAPI DJ?
Asian American, well, Canadian Pacific Islander Desi. So yeah, that's just the conglomerate of Asian identity. But
yeah, I can go into this. So with West Coast, I feel like a lot of people actually fell in love with the music pretty early on, and that scene was really nurtured and really grown into a really big and really cool thing. The East Coast is a much more guerrilla market and more underground sounding or type beat kind of vibe.
I usually find it's the experiment for European scene. A lot of European stuff, like a lot of us on the panel are big techno heads, and New York is always the first one to get it, and then LA. But I think what you just said, LA's scene has been established based on history, right?
And it's American as American gets.
Yes.
Yeah. Red, white, and blue, baby. I'm in Canada right now. They're holding me hostage.
We'll have words after this podcast.
Oh no. If I don't, show up on tour, just know that I am happy. I am not, depressed or anything. Everything is perfectly fine.
We can edit that out.
So yeah, API DJs.
Yeah.
Yes.
So the scene is really unique. It's West Coast is people who are in love with the American music sound. East Coast, very European influenced. Both groups are trying to build their own scenes in their own ways. I think East Coast, though, has a lot more people who are just kind of picking up or getting into the music space because they were like, hey, like maybe the West Coast wasn't the vibe. They moved over and want to switch things up. Now, American versus Canadian, I can't really speak too heavily because I'm only familiar with some folks in Vancouver, some folks in Winnipeg, and then the folks that I'm privy to in the States. I will say this: the folks I've been seeing a lot more Canadians being stronger producers than Americans. At least the American newer DJs in terms of like people on the come up, there's a lot more DJs, and then Canada has a lot more, hey, like I'm getting to production first and DJing second. And I don't know if that's a thing just because of like the population difference or the types of opportunities available, but I have recognized there's a lot more production focused artists coming out of Canada.
That's interesting to think about. That's something I never thought about. I think it has to do with probably opportunities.
Yes.
I think because although our market is pretty good in Toronto, it's still hard we have a lot of like residencies for certain places that are like the same guy's been doing it for like 20 years.
Yeah.
I think it's harder to get like gigs, and it's easier to like just market your music and whatever you're doing behind the scene, and you could send that over to the States.
But right now, just as someone who's been raving forever, I love where our scene's at right now. Our friends over at Just Dreaming too, as you mentioned, the collective. The collective, they've also established they're bringing new people on. It's just inner brand promoting and giving people opportunities. Last night was that empowerment event. Fantastic. Open deck. Let all the ladies who want to showcase their skills come out.
That was a great event. I was there.
Yes. So personal opinion from what I've been seeing, I think the community's a lot friendlier here. So with what Just Dreaming's been doing, they really like open up their arms to anybody that's new, even if you're a few months new. So they'll take you in, and you get to like thrive in the community. But whereas like what I've seen in America, like I feel like on like certain coasts or like people with more establishment and more history, like there's like a little like bit more power there, and it's a little more competitive, I would like to say. But I don't know about your opinions.
Okay, this is I would say it's kind of difficult because I would say yes, it's friendlier, but as the scene matures, you start establishing hierarchies, and as more and more people get into it, you kind of let in a lot of maybe not the less desirable members who aren't really in it for the right reasons, and then that creates that that wall, that edge.
You mean that everyone wants to be a DJ mentality?
No.
Yeah, but we can get into that later. Let's get to that later.
That's a hot take.
Yeah.
We have a hot take segment at the end, guys, so stay tuned.
I guess it's like passion for music versus like social recognition.
I think it's also like how Canada doesn't have many spots that you can do open decks. Like so far, even doing this podcast, I only know 2 spots that do it. One is a Just Streaming event, and the other one is Baseline.
Yeah,
yes, Baseline.
And we had our guest Scott.
Yeah, Scott who did open decks at Baseline. So like, there's only a few spots that you can do it. So I think many people who are into the music industry, it's just easier to start off with production than it is to do DJ.
That makes sense.
That is
Yeah.
very fair. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
what are the differences between the sounds on East Coast and West Coast America? Because I guess West Coast is like more like what? Like it started off like more melodic, right? In
Yeah,
bass
so
house?
the West Coast sound is, halftime, more chill. It's like, you got your future bass, you got your melodic dub.
They love their trap as well.
Yeah, trap and R&B. And then the East Coast is like, big room, techno. You got
House.
hard styles popping in there now. Hard dance. We're having like,
I'm following. I'm a hardstyle fan. Me and my one friend, like we're always keeping an eye on the New York festivals or the New York events, and you guys have like a hard
dance NYC.
And it's popping off like crazy right now.
And it's cool to see because it's different genres of music finding different hubs, and I think that's important for any scene. And it's incredible for the the United States or the North American scene in general, because that means there's more music and more different sounds and voices being heard, which is important. A music scene has to be growing. It can't always be stagnant. If it's stagnant, it dies.
For sure.
That's true. Like speaking for Toronto, as a DMB head, we've had a lot of people don't realize we have a very strong DMB scene in Toronto that's been here for 25 years.
And we
That's
have
why
a lot of loyal fans too.
That's why it depends on the music type too.
Yeah.
When the jungle music's played, you get all the old heads coming out.
Yeah.
I've been to jungle events and I feel young. It's like but it's what the scene was here a long time ago. Even new age drum and bass. It's people like Andy C. They love coming to Toronto because he's been here for God knows how many years.
It's kind of like DNB month this month, right? We were talking about
It's
it.
DMB
For
year.
Toronto.
The year of
DMB
2024. 2024.
Yeah, so like Tracy, going back again, like I guess this is the golden age because you've got like so many of these collectives popping up. A lot of our like friends in New York and Toronto are like scoring gigs, like big gigs, and like the establishment of our podcast here. Like I think EDM's really thriving. Yeah.
It's just a lot of media outlets, as we
Yeah.
talked about, right? A lot easier to get your brand out there and also communicate with the community. In the end, it's all about the community, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, it's also a lot easier at publishing because like back then you have to go through a lot of channels, right? Right now you can just set up a camera, go on Twitch, register, and then you can start streaming, right?
Exactly. That's true.
Here, we just do this and then podcast for Spotify. We can just put it up, right? And then next thing you know, we are like 17 episodes in. So yeah, pretty cool.
So, do you have a pre-performance ritual?
Oh yeah. So, man, this is controversial.
Does it change based on the type of set you're
I feel
playing?
like for him it does.
Like if you're going to do a live set versus DJ set? Okay, but you're saying controversial, so I want to hear this.
So, the elements, according to Hugh Hefner, to a good party is good music, good booze, and a lot of girls. If you have those elements in your pregame and the vibe is there, it's going to carry on. So I have a concept about like how a pregame or a pre-ritual has to be. So you obviously are starting outside of the venue. You're starting at someone's place. Now, you show up to the pregame on a high. Everyone's excited. Now, once you leave the pregame, the energy actually dissipates while you're in the Uber to the next spot, to the venue. And then you have to deal with waiting in line and going through all that coat check and whatnot. Now, if the pregame was whack and you didn't have those elements that Hugh Hefner gloriously described, the energy, people came in high and they leave low. You go in the Uber, it gets even lower. By the time they get to the venue, it's a bottom tier.
Right.
So the point of having all those elements is that everyone comes in high, starts off higher, and as the energy trickles on your way to the venue and dealing all that, getting into the venue and whatnot, you still end up on a higher plane than you would have started. So that's my the ritual has. That's the ritual.
My
has to
mind's
be.
actually blown right now because I never thought about that.
Yeah.
And I never realized how, like, we go to a lot of pre's too, but I never realized that actually dictates most of the night.
He
Yeah, it
analyzes
does.
that too.
That's actually like crazy to think about because you are right, 100% right.
Yeah, like yesterday, I think my mood kind of downed because I couldn't get my ticket to work because I forgot to accept it. And then, had to wait in the front for a bit. But yeah, that's a very great analysis.
It's all vibes.
So then, moving on to your tour, are you going to change anything based on that? Is it still pre's, like the pre?
Hear me out. So obviously, because I'm doing a lot of singing, a lot of guitar playing, there's a lot of warm up involved. So a lot of lip trills, doing some scale runs. Also, like getting some movement and stretches. I move around a lot. I jump off tables. I'm running up and down. there's a level of physical activity that, you know, I need to be warmed up for. But that's just like the me portion. You also got to remember the entourage that rolls in with you, the crew that is coming to the show with you, the fans. You got to bring that party to them. You are delivering them a service, and you're supposed to blow their minds. So in order to blow their minds, you got to make sure that every element is accounted for. So yes, there are pretty games for every show. There are cool things to expect. There are really high moments that I'm preparing to elevate the experience of people attending. This is not a DJ set. This is a fucking show.
Nice.
Oh, so I'm gonna insert Benny's question in here since he's not
Hit
here
me.
today. What is your thought of having like a DJ? I guess like the setup, like the table, and like as an audience seeing their legs.
So like as you get to like if you're DJing, like if we're looking at you and we see your legs,
I don't care.
You don't care?
In fact, I want that table off to the side. I actually like looking directly at the crowd. I don't enjoy the decks in front of me. I
peering
actually
at
hate
them?
that.
oh really?
It
Is that
feels-
why you just jump on the decks and then just dance around?
Yeah, I absolutely hate I don't like how the decks are kind of like a wall between you and the crowd. Just like how I hate a laptop is like, you know, a wall from your face in the crowd.
Okay. Also, I don't know if you can answer this. Do you like the current mission stage setup, and do you have a say in the new one that's coming?
I did give them my plans for the new
Or
one.
are they just
Yeah,
a touch? Are they renovating or is they shut down
They've
right
been
now?
wanting to for the past how long?
I've given them my 2 cents, and based on what they've told me from the last time I talked with them, there's a lot of stuff that's being implemented, which I'm really excited for.
Nice.
Yeah.
Check it
Yeah,
out.
but then how would you set up the DJ deck where you don't have that kind of like restriction of you between
Ooh, I got
separating
you.
between you and the audience?
Griffin and Jana and the Chainsmokers do a really good setup where they have it kind of off at an angle, and they have like their instruments on the other side. So you still have the center part open. Maddie does it too. I think Porter also has done that on a few shows, and I think that's the way of the future. That's the way. If I had full control over the venue's like layout, that's how I do it.
What do you think of Zoo's setup?
I actually have not seen it.
Oh, what? Wow. Okay.
Zoo's setup is pretty nice. He brings it in its own structure, and it's a 2-story
Ooh.
tall.
So
his
cool.
his instruments are all in the lower bottom, and then he climbs the steps all the way up to
And
the
he does
DJ
like his
deck.
singing
yeah.
at the top.
And it does
I gotta
really
check
sick.
that.
Yeah.
See? Yeah.
And then the whole thing is like it's slits, right? So
Yeah.
when they display the LCD screen, you can actually see it from afar. It's like a full screen, but from very close, you can see the slits, and
That's
then
so cool.
you can see his shadow behind the LCD screen playing the instruments.
See, that's the one thing though. For me, I hate a wall in front of me. I have to be one of the audience. I want to be able to jump into the crowd and like, you know, grab their hand and headbang
Feel
with
their
them.
energy.
Yeah, I need to feel and touch. You know, it's a rock show. It has to be raw. I want to see I would love to see people like crowd surf for my shows. I want to jump off stage and crowd surf. Like I want that energy.
Have you done it before?
I have crowd surfed back in my rock band days.
Oh, okay, but not in the EDM scene yet.
I have crowd surfed at an EDM. Yeah, actually, yes, I have. ISOXO was the recent one. I crowd surfed a little bit.
He does it too.
Yeah,
he
sick.
did it for the
I
Toronto.
saw does it
He
too,
did it for
yeah.
the Toronto
He
stuff.
like
just
pointed out at me.
jumped-
I was
yeah,
like, "Let's go." And the Millennium show back in the day, I did that. So it was back when Izu was wild and the Wild West, and Millennium was playing 8 p.m. slots. And the
Ashes and Awake albums. Yeah.
the best spot to stand in the crowd. This is hot take. I hang out with a lot of Asians, but I like to stand right in the middle with the Asians and we're the Chads and the Brads. Because the Chads and the Brads are always down. They're always doing like backflips and stuff. And they're like, "Yo, pick me up." They're like, "Yo, let's go, little man." Of course, like they tower ahead
Yeah.
a foot and a half over me. And like they sit like this tiny Asian dude's like, "Yo, you want to crowd surf?" He's like, "Yeah." And they're like, "Yeah." And it's like,
The energy's there from them. That's what, like.
yeah. So also, do you care if I run to the restroom real quick?
Yeah.
Do it. Just cut it out. Yeah.
Oh, pause. Okay.
Woo.
Okay, yeah. So, I remember seeing on your Instagram feed recently, like I forgot what it was, but it was like an interesting fan interaction. So, interesting fan interactions. Like, do you have any? I swear I saw one recently
Okay,
that you posted.
I've signed tits before.
Isn't that like a DJ bucket list, anyways?
Yeah.
Um,
That's also a rock star
Yeah, that's
bucket
also a
list
rock star
too.
mentality.
I've had moms try to introduce me to their daughter at the same show.
Okay, but that's like standard procedure as an Asian.
What do you
Have
do
moms
on those-
introduce themselves to you?
Will not
Not
confirm
yet.
nor deny on this podcast. Let's see what else. I mean, honestly, I think I actually enjoy the fan interactions, and unlike a lot of DJs who are kind of like, you know, shy to it, I love playing into it. I love doing stupid shit, and I've blown a lot of money just buying shots for people in the crowd that I'm like, yo, dude, you were like going crazy during my set. Let's grab drinks, dude.
Mm.
But that's how you get a lifelong fan.
Yeah.
Once again,
Yeah.
it's all the
All
little
about-
things that
yeah.
matter. We talked about Blank was just here yesterday where we all went, and I'm a lifelong, like he's probably one of my favorite artists just because of the interactions I've had with him. He's just so genuine.
Yeah.
Right?
They're about that life. You got to be hashtag about that life.
Yeah. So I said I respect that huge, right? That like I'm never a type of person who wants to meet a DJ. I honestly never want to meet my DJ people, but if the interaction's natural, they'll win me over for life, like as a fan.
That's how I feel about a lot of artists that I've gotten a chance to play with. When I've had a really good interaction, I'm like, yeah, I'll support this artist with whatever they do. I'm in.
So, so far everybody's been listening. We do have an understanding that Brandon has a very unique market, a unique outlook on music and the EDM scene. So, we want to ask about your musical outlook in depth. So, usage of your own vocals.
Yeah. So, coming from a rock band scene and writing songs as an artist, you kind of want to put your own stamp in it. It kind of feels unnatural the way EDM does it, where like, you know, oh, I'm going to pay for this vocalist $1,000 here, and yeah, it'd be incredible. But to me, it feels like, oh, this is kind of like very unnatural to what I grew up with and what I'm used to. Like, I love a lot of really great, incredible rock artists. You know, I've Guns N' Roses, you got Axl Rose. In Japan, you like Hyde from Larkin Seal, Toshi from X
your
Japan.
current shirt's
I'm wearing a Dragon Force t-shirt
I
right
just
now.
noticed that too right now. It's sick.
You know, and I just saw, you know, Dragon Force live, and Mark is an incredible tenor, and yeah, just
Completely random question. Guitar,
Yes, hit me.
Guitar Hero. Did
Ooh,
you
okay.
ever? Okay.
So this is for people who are really into music. I'm actually a huge music nerd. My favorite guitar players, the ones who got me into playing guitar, were Hizaki and Teru from the band Versailles, and they're based out of Japan. They're a quintet of neoclassical rock metal musicians, and that's their song. The Revenant Choir was the song that put me onto playing guitar. All these years later, I'm a guitar player. But in terms of like other guitar heroes, I'm a big 80s guy. So I got into 80s guitar playing from a more recent artist from like the early 2000s. Her name's Orianthi. She's Australian. She had a song, According to You, where the intro guitar solo is actually the same intro lick as Sweet Child of Mine. And I read that in a YouTube comment. I discovered Guns N' Roses and in turn discovered 80s hair metal. So obviously I love Slash. But then in terms of guitar, like who I associate myself with, like CC DeVille of Poison, he's like over the top flashy. I own like a really flashy neon green BC Rich Gunslinger, which is the guitar he uses in his videos. And in terms of like technical ability, the two guitar players that I'm like really like, oh, these guys are gods, are Vito Bratta from White Lion and George Lynch from Dokken. No, none of you guys know who that is, but there's a certain audience who knows that, oh, this guy's legit. So, yeah.
That's true.
For our rock metal EDM fans, message me.
Yes.
Message us.
I'm like, I believe everything you're saying because I know nothing about this.
So, what does that relate with Guitar Hero?
Oh, I just want to ask about Through the Fire and Flames because that's literally what everyone with
Yeah.
the shirt. Because trying to do that on Expert, it was not happening.
So I guess let's go back to the thing. Like, let me kind of tie this all together. So it's cool to have like I look at those guys that I admire as larger than life. You know, there are people that were incredible at what they do, and they're incredible with how they own the stage with the charisma. I too want to model things off that and take in some of those things that I appreciate and spin it in my own way, in a way that I can do it. And that's kind of where the whole vocals and electric guitar came in, from that background of having a love for those greats who came before me.
Nice.
Nice.
So
And so, you've told me this before. Why don't you like EDM?
ooh,
Okay.
that's
Oh no! Oh no!
called
Cat's
out,
out the
called
bag.
out,
Yeah.
called
Oh
out.
no!
It's just not the genre of music I fell in love with. If I had a choice, I would be in a Japanese visual K-rock band, but I'm not Japanese.
With like hair like this, like back
Yeah,
in your
yeah.
high school days.
It's just one of those things where like, hey, like EDM it was a side quest that became a main quest, and it just so happens
It
that hey,
works.
I'm running with this, but I have the opportunity to turn this into something cool, and I'm gonna put the effort behind it. So
For the cause.
Just how you initially introduced, that's exactly what you've done, right? You may not be an EDM fan, but you've taken elements of it and infused it into something you believe in.
Yeah.
Which is like very unique and also makes it fun for yourself.
Yeah.
So
Creating something new from scratch is incredible. It's scary, but it's also like the most fulfilling thing you can do.
Are you content with where you're at right now?
Absolutely not. You need to always be grinding, and you gotta push to the next level every day. I hate feeling, relaxed. I'm always stressed. I'm always under a lot of pressure, and I'm always like, things can fall apart at any time. But
That
that's
kind of sounds like a New York mentality.
Yeah, but-
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. But also, is this like an Asian household, like trauma type of mentality? or
I
no?
grew up white, so no.
Okay.
I subject myself to this because I love the grit. I love the grind. I love
it gives you the adrenaline,
yeah,
right?
it gives you the
Yeah.
adrenaline. It gives you the drive. Yeah.
And for our listeners, he's actually a Jersey boy. So
I'm a Jersey boy.
That
Bass Pro
explains a lot.
Shops.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Have you ever thought of bringing in a live band into your sets?
Oh yeah, I would love. I did that during the pandemic, and I have an intention of doing that. For Neo City Part 2 for a special thing pop up that I might be planning in New York. So people
I'll be
will
back.
get to experience that, but it's a lot of work to do, and you also need to remember it's a lot of effort to put together.
Yeah.
I guess I'm gonna dive into a little side tangent if that's cool with you guys.
Go ahead.
So I have an experience also in live sound. I've built live sound setups and recording studio setups for schools in New York. I've done that, revamped the entire like church's sound system. I did their live engineering for them. I've really had a lot of time to dabble in all these different things that are music. I think I do better signal flow than a lot of people, but to put together a show of that caliber with kind of what the EDM crowd expects, you're not only having to, bring in a band, but you also need to make sure that every person in that band is a charismatic team player that can really elevate the show.
Yeah.
I can't have side characters being on this. I need it all has to match the
Can't be
Dream
no
Driver.
NPCs, right?
Yeah,
No.
it has to match what the Dream Driver brand is. And finding those people and then rehearsing and putting that event together, that's the challenge.
So that's
Yeah.
that's an interesting question. One of the questions we want to ask you is if you had a dream back to back. But the thing
Or
is,
B3B.
I know who
like-
exactly. I
like-
know who.
okay,
I actually love the Chainsmokers. I think they're the most innovative group and some of the smartest working guys in the industry. They have their hands in so many places, and they also know how to play the market, and they know what works. They're incredible. I think everyone makes a joke out of them like, oh, the Chainsmokers, but then they're consistently selling out everywhere, selling out shows, flying here, flying there, making more money than everybody else, and they're having the best time doing it.
Yeah,
So-
they're doing something right to have been
Yeah,
selling out
exactly.
shows. So,
So from that opinion, do you consider yourself if you choose one thing, do you consider yourself an entertainer, a profit maker, or
I'm an
producer?
entertainer.
Okay.
As much as the money would be nice, what I'm trying to do and pursuing music doesn't have a lot of money until you get really big. And the style that I'm trying to pursue, I don't know what the ceiling is. I don't know what's out there because it hasn't been done before. And I'm challenging myself to do something uncharted because I want to be a pioneer. So
nice. Does that so with the dream
Until-
back to back? If you had back to back opportunities right now for like an upcoming tour,
Chainsmokers, easily.
but like in talking about like just someone like locally, right? Like
Reachable?
Locally?
because it seems like
I
with
hate
your brand,
back-to-backs.
yeah, that's the thing. I was just,
I hate back-to-backs.
it sounds like a back to back wouldn't work in your vision.
It's actually kind of frustrating to do back to back because I'm come on, just do something different or do something cool. Like I need someone who kind of matches me, and I still haven't found that, that person.
That's pretty much what you say, that bringing in a live band to work with your sets is going to be challenging too, because you're not just managing one person on stage. You're managing,
everyone has to match your energy, right?
Everyone has to match the energy. One falls off. There's a weakest link in the.
That's why I quit being in rock bands. I actually hated how the rock band scene felt like crabs in a barrel. There's so many. Oh, let's do a hot take right now. Are you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready. We're always
ready.
We're always ready.
All right, I'm gonna look at the camera. So there were so many bums in that space that, like, bro, get a fucking job and fucking do your shit, man. Like, drag your own weight and stop like making bullshit excuses about like how you're suffering from. Oh, I'm struggling. This is like mentally taxing, bro. Just get through it. Push through it, dude. Be a man. A lot of people lean into this.
Be a
I'm
woman.
the victim, or be a woman. I'm the victim, but I'm like, bro, if you want to be someone big or do something crazy, you have to suffer. You have to go through it. You have to fucking just attack at it. And a lot of those people in that space aren't willing to do that. And because in a band you need multiple players to play those roles. Obviously now you have backing tracks and it's so much easier to do that. But back then, like, I need someone to play bass. Who plays bass? These two people. You got to pick between like Dumb and Dumber, bro. So that's my hot take.
Brava.
So, yeah.
It goes with the sayings like, would you rather get shot on the shoulder or would you get shot in the leg? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't even know which one I want. Maybe legs I can roll around. I still need my hands to do.
Yeah.
Prosthetics.
So with 2024, as you got a lot of things upcoming that are exciting. Anything you have, like any goals you're setting for yourself for the future?
Yeah. So actually, I want to put out at least like 15 songs this year. I already have 5 out, and then 6 out. Sorry, 6 songs out, and obviously Neo City Part 2, and then maybe a few other projects I can't announce, but 15 songs at least. I want to have one band show, obviously the tour, and there's going to be more dates to be announced. They're still being finalized. And yes, I am the one on the emails booking this and figuring this all out myself. And the other thing also is I actually just want to elevate or build my 3rd iteration of the Born Driver Festival. So that's, maybe we can tap into that towards the end of this, but that's a festival that I just host every January.
For his birthday.
I want to do something bigger for next year. So.
Yeah, I wanted to ask us that, like, we're just now it's kind of like
freestyle.
Now it's all freestyle questions. So, you say you don't you do party. Do you rave still? Like, do you still go to shows and stuff like that?
I was a blank with you guys.
Well,
yesterday.
I felt like on a regular.
On a regular basis.
Does, yes.
Yeah, I did a 5-day bender in New York City. It started at Knock 2 ISOXO.
Was she was there?
No, you weren't there. This was the one you were.
Oh, this was the lunar eclipse.
Oh,
yeah.
You guys are taking turns.
Yeah, and then I went to who did I go to?
Didn't you fly out to Texas at one point? No.
No, that was before that.
So you still love raving, essentially.
Yeah. Either Arlo Grime, then Slander, and Zed, then Slander, then Alan Walker. 5 days in a row.
Like we quickly mentioned earlier, a bunch of friends were opening that weekend. So
everyone I knew was playing on those lineups. So.
That's the
key,
tricky.
yeah.
That's the tricky thing in the scene too. Is that once you get to know a lot of people, you're just like, oh shit, I gotta go out and support, or I gotta
gotta
pull
show
up.
face.
Every weekend becomes an itinerary rather than
it's like, oh, I
I
have to go.
Yeah.
But that's fine. I mean, as long as we all can accept it.
Whoops. Sorry. So, on top of the Neo City new album, he actually has another song, an EP, right? That is with like a New York DJ, another resident DJ at Mission.
Not resident DJ.
Oh, really?
It's the one with Mini Joy.
Yes, with Mini Joy.
Ooh, this is a cool story. So I always have my eyes out for new talent and doing cool things. And what happened was that I got reached out to by a really popular promoter in New York City to, hey, like, can you help put together my birthday? And this guy's done a lot for me. He took a lot of chances on me, especially at the beginning. His name's Tom, and everyone in New York City knows him. So basically, I was curating a lineup of folks I think would contribute to add value to this event. And I was like, hey, like, we need someone to open. And I'm like, yo, who are some new faces that I don't know that I should know? And he gave me a list of names, went down, who caught my eye and was really interesting, discovered this person. I was like, oh, she does Korean R&B. I love Korean music. I listen to a ton of K-pop, K-rock, and I've dived into a lot of different subgenres at different times, even Korean EDM, which I love. But I brought her in. She popped off in the city, and now she's playing gigs every single day.
She opened for Ophelia Records.
Oh, wow.
Showcase,
Ophelia
yeah.
Showcase.
The showcase that was in
Yes.
Yeah.
was it January, December?
Yes.
Yeah.
Hi, Hannah. But yeah, Tom's a very generous guy.
That's crazy.
Just shout outs to her for seizing the opportunity too,
Yeah,
right?
for sure.
In the end, it's as we talked about, it's who you know, and I'm glad you were able to give her
You
the
should make a
opportunity.
music video with her.
Everyone's asking for part 2 of the content we make, the K-drama stuff. I'm dabbling to script writing and acting next, but we'll see.
Jack of all trades.
You mentioned earlier that you like playing your own songs and you don't really like playing other people's produced songs. So what do you think about ghost producing?
I think it's actually okay. That's a hot take. I understand why it's done, and I was against it in the beginning, but then I'm open to it now, where I'm thinking hey, if SM Entertainment, the big K-pop company, has their producers write 500, 600 songs a week for their artists, and they pick the best 3 to 5, man, wouldn't it be great to just have 3 to 5 songs where I'm hey, I put 50% input, my team puts in 50% input. Maybe it's a hybrid ghost produce, but it's kind of a collaborative, almost like being in a band project, and then put that out, because you get more content. This is the Gary V in me thinking, get more content, get more things out there. You got to push, you got to penetrate the market more, and you have more things out there. Part of the strategy also with being consistent in your visibility is this is a defensive play. If you go into hiding, guess what? Someone else is going to take your spot.
For sure, yeah.
We've had some friends like that, right?
Nice. Another one. So we've asked this question before. We all, as ravers, we have ideal set times.
Yeah.
So I think the consensus on our panel was 12 a.m. start, end at 2 a.m. so we can be home in bed by that time.
Mm-hmm.
As a DJ, do you have a preferred set time where you want to start?
I like the 1 to 2:30, 1 to 2 slot, or 12:30. I don't like starting at 12. I like starting a little bit after 12.
It's because you're a New Yorker.
And that's what I was gonna say.
Yeah. Ooh. However, I would love sunset sets if it's one of those events that starts earlier. I love daytime shows. I actually don't give a fuck about nighttime shows. I hate
like a
them in the
John
nighttime.
Summit club space.
But instead of that, I want it to be high energy shit, in the middle of the day. Because I love the daytime where you can see the people. I actually hate it when it's so dark you can't see the DJ. I hate those venues. I want the spotlight on. This is a show. I want to see the performers in full glory.
So you want to see a techno show at 3 p.m. outside, on the coast of Miami?
Yeah.
You know what? It's slowly, and this is where New York's great, because New York's always used the bubble for testing that out. In Europe, it's already a thing.
Yeah.
In Europe, it's in UK for sure. It's daytime, and then they have nighttime party.
Oh, yeah.
But you just party Benny, you talked about before, where he literally went to a daytime party and went to a nighttime party. He was raving for 16 hours.
Yeah.
Awesome.
He went daytime into a club and he came out. It was still daytime the next day.
Yeah.
So I actually want to add though, as cool as that sounds, I actually don't think I would like that, because unless it was really the kind of music I like, almost like a hybrid of a live show and a rock show, I don't want to listen to electronic beats for 10 hours on end. I won't enjoy that. I have a particular thing that I like, and if it's done for an extended period of time, I'll still like it.
Nice. Do you because you have a rock background, do you have a favorite song that you want to share with the listeners?
Favorite song? Honestly, just stream Neo City. But
EDM or EDM could be rock too.
I really want to Stay at Your House. The song from Cyberpunk Edge Runners. I had that on repeat. I played a remix of that I made to close out my Jana show, and a lot of people really liked it. So yeah, we'll see if maybe I'll put something out.
Do you like it more because a lot of people liked it?
No, it just I saw the anime and I thought it was a really cool song, and I liked it. It was oh, this is different. And then it was stuck in my head, and I guess a lot of people liked it too, and I was oh, I guess I'm not crazy. The anime came out 1.5 years ago, and I was worried that if I play this song, no one's gonna know it. But I was all right guys, I got one more for you. it's from Cyberpunk Edge Runners. And people are like, I'm like,
Well, it's reading your audience, right?
Yeah,
if
let's
you played that here, people would be like, "What the hell?"
exactly.
I feel like a lot of people have just compartmentalized being a raver and liking anime or K-pop and stuff, and then like there's people like you bringing it together now, right? It's very fulfilling.
I took a risk on doing that, and yeah, sometimes the risk pays off, and sometimes it doesn't. And we should pivot into the really interesting topic. So, I got booked and I got paid a good amount of money to do a K-pop event, and I was like, all right, let me just kind of do this like a K-pop hybrid EDM. And actually, like I actually had people like booing me, because I'm playing some K-pop song. Then I was like, doing that, and then people were liking it. Then I put in Dash Star in between, so it's like it's just a house beat to kind of keep the crowd dancing. And I had people go like, like that. And like, no, I was like, whoa.
Is this in New York?
No, this was like in Boston.
That's interesting.
But it's like, I also had like, a group of girls in the front who are also ravers, and they're like going in. I'm like, all right, I'm playing for the people who are going in. And at the end of the day, like I got 2 weeks notice for this gig. So I tried to get as much prepared as I could and, really cater to the audience. And some people knew, like, who are in that thing, they're like, wait, aren't you? Like, because they're an EDM fan, but they also was like, let me check out a K-pop event. They recognized me as DREAMDRIVER. Like, what are you doing here? Like, because I didn't announce it. But it was interesting in that dynamic because everyone's so compartmentalized in what they like, and they're not really open to things, or they're very like, this is different and it's uncomfortable. But you have to be okay with that heat if you're trying to push the needle forward, so.
Yeah, for sure.
I remember Adventure Club, I think, dropping either Blackpink and Big Bang at Club 77 a few years back, and I was screaming on top of my lungs. It was amazing.
I first did that at a club in Philly. I was doing a show. Yeah, I was doing a show supporting Alan Walker, and you play some Big Bang, you heard screeches. Like, because at that time, no one was taking that risk and doing it. And I was like, you know what? I had nothing to lose. Just did it. And that's really that K-pop brand kind of became my thing in the beginning. That really propelled me in.
Yeah, it's a good timing too. Once again, like the K-pop popularity right now, drama,
and then everyone started
music.
jumping on the train.
Yeah,
like,
everyone's
again,
doing the dance,
you gotta
using the dance to dance in EDM too.
Yeah, you gotta capitalize it. And if the market's not there, you gotta.
It's important to be the first and lead from the front. Skrillex led from the front with his version of dubstep in the beginning. He's leading from the front now with the whole having like Quartet, Skrillex, and Fred again together, having that like, oh, there's like three dudes doing like a 360 set. That camaraderie is really exciting to see. Seeing the Knock 2 ISO EXO camaraderie, having their own sound when the Asian sound is like overly saturated with sad boy stuff, and they're like, nah, we're gonna do something completely different. That's cool, and that's the kind of stuff that I love, because going against the grain, being a rebel, it's risky, it's dangerous. It's kind of like, what are you thinking? But it's thought-provoking and controversial, and that's the beauty of it. That's the beauty of what it's like to be in the art space.
And the note on that, like you mentioned earlier that you chose Speed House because it's fast. You like faster music, but what is the real reason why you chose Speed House into? So
let me pivot. It's Speed House hybrid hard dance. But then I have a lot of there's some trap elements I put in some of my songs. There's some dubstep in my songs. There's a lot of psytrance in my songs. It's just more like, hey, what kind of beat works? And Speed House is just an easy way to describe it to people. But it's really more hard dance, but it's not. And then a lot of my songs are also rock songs, but they're kind of disguised EDM. It's hard to put a moniker on things, so I have to kind of package it in a way that people can understand what it is.
So do you think sad boy music is taking over the bass genre, like you mentioned earlier?
What's your opinion on it? Because
it's cool. I mean, I've seen Millennium a million times. I have a few friends who are like, bigger sad boy artists, and it's personally not my thing. I'm not sad about anything. I'm like, bro, this is a party. I'm not trying to be like sad and stuff.
Did you go to the trilogy?
I didn't go to.
Of course not.
I wish I could have, but just money and just a lot of things going on.
Yeah.
Well, for me, everyone calls it sad boy music, but like I'm the same way. I don't feel sad listening to it. I actually, because I come from a trance background, I find it's like a little bit of the trancey elements like that I look for, and like it's more moving. I honestly find a lot of sad boy music as people define
motivating?
is actually motivating and makes me feel good.
Yeah, it's well-written music with an electronic beat. It's kind of the evolution of what was the 80s power ballad to now the the sad boy with a big EDM drop.
And everybody should know Brandon's motto. Are you
Are
ready
you
to
party?
party? So,
Or now you're Miami.
yes, you in
Everywhere.
Miami. But jumping into another topic, I don't know if viewers can see, you have really nice earplugs on.
Yeah.
So what earplugs do you recommend or use as a DJ?
We are big advocates of earplugs on the podcast.
Can I be honest? I have like the ring loops that I use. These are like in-ear monitors that I got from like FIR Audio, but those are outside people's price range, and I just had some good connections, and
Canadian brand.
shook some hands and got lucky. But I'll be the first to admit that I've been pretty bad when it comes to using hear protection. I do have hearing loss damage from, playing with a live drummer many times and being in this environment, and that's something that I need to improve on for 2024. I'll take ownership of that.
And then screaming into your system and then hearing it back. Yeah. So
I mean, we could jump into the hot takes now.
yeah.
Do some hot takes.
Hot takes. Okay, I wanted to ask another question, but
Yeah, go ahead. We can do it. It's freestyling right now.
I frequent New York and become pretty broke from it. How much money do you realistically need in order to not go broke in New York City?
Yeah, it's actually like we talk about it a lot on the podcast. It's actually good you brought this up because we talk about it a lot on the podcast, being like we're going out like weekly, all of us, and we're just like, man, we look at events in New York and we're just like,
It's almost double.
It's like price is double, but the amount of events are double too. Like everyone jokes that I go like 3 days a week. I'm like, bro, I'd be starting like Wednesday in New York at this rate.
You start on Monday.
Yeah,
and never stop.
And like everyone knows the cost of living. The cost of living here in Toronto is pretty high. Cost of living in New York is
It's higher.
very high as well. So how do you find like the
Okay.
budget balance?
I think he got lucky with his situation.
Obviously, income matters. Right?
Obviously, the clout helps, and I get into a lot of places for free. But realistically, if you're going out, expect to spend $300 a night. $50 each way in Ubers or however you're going. Obviously, you can save money taking the train, but I've been robbed before, so it's probably gonna.
Yeah, he got
Uber.
his phone stolen a few months back.
That was only last year.
Just recently, yeah. Like
Yeah.
recently.
Wow.
Damn.
So I
On the
lost.
train? On the
He
train?
was sleeping
I
though.
knocked out. on the
okay,
train.
okay.
But
But still.
yeah. And then food, drinks. You're spending what, $18 to $20 a drink, and
I think he's constantly dropping bottles too. Like he adds bottles. Like one night we go out, it's like get a booth, like 2-3 bottles, but then we like add bottles in the night. I remember this one night, it was 3:30 a.m. We stopped serving alcohol here in Toronto at 2, but it was 3:30 a.m. at Mission, and there's bottles rolling in, and then I think like 45 minutes later, you're like, oh my god, everybody got a chug.
Yep, that's happened. That's happened. Yeah, it's part of my brand. Part of my brand kind of feeds into it. It's very like, this is the party. Like, yes, I roll into the club. We have a lot of girls. I keep the ratio. I keep it pretty strict. Like, you have to be like in my camp, and I have to really fuck with you. And if you're a dude, unfortunately, like, it took a lot of work to kind of get to where I am, and you kind of have to earn your spot. And you have to add value. If you're not adding value to what I'm doing, I can't really have you in my table because I'm paying a lot of money for this stuff, and one person can ruin it for a lot of folks. And I've had that experience. But the amount of money that you need is like, hey, if you can contribute something of value, it may not be the money, but like, hey, like you got me on the rides. I have an extra spot in guest list. Something like that. I think that's the best way to navigate it, because there are a lot of ways to get things to there. New York always wants bodies through the door, but the most direct way to get in is a ticket, but there are other ways. So it's either you have social value, network value, obviously monetary value, and then
Going back to who you know.
I'd still be broke.
Yeah.
I
think we all would be broke anyway.
I'd be broke.
So we've been talking a lot about hot takes. It's potential new segment that we have.
Yeah, well, it's something we discussed with Brandon prior. It's something he's very passionate about.
Yeah.
It's something that we talk about every now and then, but it's more for discussion. So I don't know if you have a hot take that you want to bring up, something
All right,
that's been burning in your
let's do this.
chest
So,
that you want to get out.
everyone's a DJ now, and that's a lot of people are like, yo, this is kind of like, yo, everyone's picking it up. But guess what? It's democratized. Just like music production was. And it's an uncomfortable situation for a lot of people. But guess what? It kind of breeds innovation. Because guess what? DJs who are like comfortable in their laurels are now being like usurped by, you know, this influencer girl who has way more followers than them and just learn how to mix house music. It's going to happen because you got lazy in your marketing. You got lazy. You let yourself go physically, your appearance. You didn't network enough. You're like, hey, I'm doing this and then I deserve this. You don't. No one fucking deserves shit. You know, you have to fucking earn it every fucking day. And it sucks sometimes because it's happened to me before where someone gets a gig that I didn't, that I was trying to get. And I was like, damn, or like I didn't get reached out to when I feel like I should have. Well, I fell short on something. Maybe I didn't market myself enough. Maybe I didn't network well enough with the right people. Maybe I just didn't provide the right value at that time for the guy who was figuring out the lineup. And I recognize these things. These are shortcomings that I experience. And I know that, hey, because I fell short on them, I won't happen again. I won't let it happen again.
Consistency
is
key.
Now, other DJs who are just jumping into this, guess what? When you're a new DJ, an establishment has a lot of value to bring you in because guess what? You come in, you're a new face. All your friends want to support you because it's your first time. They get a lot of bodies at the door. That's a successful night. Now, multiply this by 20, 30, 40 different like spots. Every spot wants to have a DJ because guess what? You have a DJ, they bring their friends spend money, their establishment has a good, it's successful. Now multiply and repeat this more and more times, and now they start asking the person, hey, do you have any friends who DJ? Like, let's put together something because it's a business model. At the end of the day, it's all about money. It's not about, this or that. There's supply and there's demand. There's so much demand for DJs because there's so many places for people to play. And guess what? There's so many places for people to play. Hey, pick DJing up. Hey, I did it too. You can do it too. The companies making the controllers, they make it easier for people to pick it up. You don't need to crate dig as hard anymore because guess what? Everyone's playing the same edit packs and whatnot. So how do you innovate? How do you be different now? Well, the folks who've been doing this for a long time, you guys should have picked up production early. You should have picked up new techniques. You should have focused on marketing. Yes, you can be incredible at what you do, but there's always a ceiling. So how do you break past that or build something or build other infrastructures to ensure that you're always on top? And that's what people, fall short on. They're too short-sighted in what they do, and they always forget there's more out there.
Yeah, honestly,
that's a great message.
Yeah, it is a good message. It's pretty motivating too.
Mm-hmm.
Like in the end, it's on you.
Yeah,
it's always on you. You could have done something better. In order to get yourself out there.
Pretty much what drives this podcast too.
Yeah.
And that's how we got up to this far, and that's how we got you into the panel too. So right?
Yeah, we're always trying to improve. We're advocating it. We have goals for our 2024 that we're looking at. Obviously, success isn't instant.
Yeah,
right.
It's not.
It's however much effort we put into it, and we're hoping to see. We're putting in as much effort as we can to bring the user experience, the audience experience, a lot more seamless, a lot more engaging. So we feel that sentiment quite a bit.
Cool.
I have one interesting hot take on this, and it's more has to do with, we talk about a lot of these, and you've worked with a lot of organizers. Man, I like, even with the Toronto scene, there's probably a shitload of money laundering that goes on. I don't know what your take is, especially with the New York scene, but like, we will not name names.
Yeah.
But I'm pretty sure it is pretty rampant in a lot of the organizers.
I'm really liking this podcast because, and I'm totally down to go as long as you guys want and ask me whatever, because I feel like I have a lot of really interesting takes, and I think I'm willing to take the risk to say the things because a lot of people aren't willing to do that.
But we won't name names.
We will not name names.
We will not name names. This one.
Okay, so guess what? At the end of the day, people need to eat. And if someone owns the establishment or place and they're going to play things by their rules, you have to fucking do it. Because guess what? It's all about power and leverage. They own the building. They have this relationship with this person. They control that space. There's nothing you can do about it. And that's the way the world works. People are too say like, hey, this was wrong. But guess what? You need to build yourself to a point where you have the power to identify what's wrong and then set it the way that you believe is right, because whatever you believe is right, maybe the next person doesn't believe it's right, but guess what, it's all about who is in power. That's the way.
It's like
not trying to get into this,
it's
but
like what Al Pacino said in Scarface.
think about, our global policy, just like that. It's the reason we're able to do the things that we enjoy right now is because we have the infrastructure in place to feel safe in our neighborhoods and homes here. It's, and as dark as that sounds, it's like we can't even be where we are without, other things
Someone
happening
taking a shortcut, someone
outside,
doing it.
outside
It's
of
true.
our
Very
purview.
true.
Outside of our purview, making sure that when the gears turn in the grand stage of things, we are left unaffected.
Now, touching upon that, so in the end, we have it about the scene, but how much of these people are not in it for the music?
A lot of people.
That's the
Yeah.
A
one
lot
thing.
of people are not
That's
in
the
it for
one
music.
thing that kind of irks me sometimes. Is I look at some of the scene in general in different cities, and I'm like, you look at some of the organizers and some of their past, and you're just like, are you really in it for the music?
This is when like Brandon's part of a bigger playground, because frequenting New York City, I've learned that there are a lot of characters out there and like a lot of things that just blow your mind as like a smaller city girl, and people literally ride off of social capital, and you will never get canceled in New York completely if you have social capital. So there's that.
I know exactly what you're talking about. End of the day, it's all about, it's all about sex, and then sex is about power. So, at the end of the day, it's very primal. It's very raw. People are going out to parties to meet people, to have a good time. People love the music, but what's behind the music? It's sex, drugs, rock and roll. It's the way it's always been. You look at, look at the lives of the classical composers. Look at Mozart.
Yes. Actually, if you're listening, do Google Mozart's history. It's actually kind of wild.
It's always been about that. Music is raw. It's emotional. It's intimate. It's passionate. It's basically just a very human thing, and what goes hand in hand with that. So that's why people are in it for different reasons. End of the day, it's up to the people in power to recognize where there are things that are wrong and taking the right, and make sure they take the right steps to ensure that things don't get out of control.
I think well said.
Yeah.
Love it.
All right.
Now, do you have any other ones you want to share?
Oh, I feel like you guys are really digging the.
I mean, it's just whatever one's on your
Yeah.
heart.
Honestly,
It's-
yeah. Okay. How do I feel about this whole dichotomy of so many people pushing in the same genre? I actually hate that. I think there's too much of people like, hey, I want to be this thing, I want to be that thing, and I was like, you gotta be your own thing.
Mm-hmm.
You see it all the time. Everyone's just trying to copy
Yeah.
someone else because it's what's in.
It's easier to copy than it is to do your own thing, right?
Oh, before you jump in, so how do you to tie into the other the hot take? Well, how do you feel about people adding elements of other genre because it's
Love it.
popular?
It's okay to do that, but do it tastefully.
Okay.
And do it in a way where you acknowledge that other thing exists, but you want to be inspired by it. I think it's great to be inspired by music, but stop carbon copying other people. It's not a good way to go. And it's also kills a scene. If you big example I like to use, I'm a music nerd, so the 1980s were a time where all the bands were moving to Los Angeles. They would get signed, they get big, they go out to a 3-album deal with Warner or Geffen Records and whatnot, and they do a couple world tours. And cool, that was that. Then comes along the 90s with Nirvana and the grunge scene in Seattle, and overnight it topples the entire music industry, and music shifts from this bright bubblegum pop like rock music to dark and grungy music. But guess what? The reason that happened so quickly is because a genre of music that was so hype and exciting, it got oversaturated with just really a ton of weak players and no one was innovating. When you do that, you start killing this genre that you love, and you allow other things to take its place. So if you truly love a genre and you want to contribute to it instead of add to its downfall, then you need to be innovating it and always pushing it forward.
Nope.
Very, very well
Yeah,
said.
makes sense. As I said, you got to be your own person. Like
Mhm.
you can't
Find your
just,
niche.
Yep.
Find your uniqueness.
Plus, also, I find like if you just copy, you're not like enjoying it.
Yeah.
What are you enjoying if you're not your own person?
Exactly.
yeah.
Right.
You're just anxiously waiting for the other person to release new things, so you
To
can
follow.
copy, to follow
Yeah.
it.
And that's the thing. Sometimes I think like it also becomes. I think one thing is sometimes when a market becomes saturated, it all sounds the same.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm.
So that's another problem too. Is like, especially like with like sad boy stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like you have the build up, you have the melody, you have the
Melody.
drop, but how do you be unique? Sometimes I find like too many artists, it's the same formula over and then. Yes, in their minds they may be unique but like, are they really unique?
Yeah. Oh, I have a good one. Oh my god. Okay.
We're gonna have to chop this into a special extra
This might
segment.
be like the underground version of the podcast where you had the part where we wrap up
The
with
unhinged.
Now,
Unhinged. Yeah.
DJs trying to pitch themselves. This is something that I see all the time. Make sure you add value to whatever you're doing. You can't say like, oh, like I know you, or oh, like I'm gonna make the crowd have a good time, because every DJ is gonna do that. You need to be like, hey, what is the reason that me being on this lineup? What do I bring to you? And a lot of people think they're entitled to things. It's all about like, hey, if I'm gonna be on this, I can do this, this, and this for you. Like I am contributing this. This is me giving something to you, so your thing is better.
Mm.
I don't give any DJ a slot on a lineup if they're not adding something, doing something for me. It's very business. I don't care if you're close to me, if you're my friend. If you're not doing something, I'm like, oh, what is this? I want to see more of that. If you're not doing that, I can't put you in a lineup with me, because that betrays everything I stand for.
Right. It's like applying for a job.
Yeah.
His I think his selection process. I want to know if your selection process of Born Driver.
Yeah, I can talk about that.
Can I mention like your budget? Or
I don't have a lot. I can't talk the budget. I can say like I don't have a lot to work with, but for Born Driver specifically, we'll dive into the festival. So what is Born Driver? Born Driver is the multi-day EDM festival that I put together. It's been housed at Mission Nightclub the past 2 years, and the concept is I'm bringing smaller Asian EDM artists that are in different regions to New York City to do like a show, play a set, and kind of throw something together. With this, I'm doing all my marketing to bring in people from the city to come out to this thing, to make it an event. And the reason I did that was because, hey, there's a lot of people doing cool things and into different sounds around different spots. Let's bring it all together. No one's doing that, so let me be the one to do it. The way I vet people is really like, hey, are you playing support for big artists? Do you have a community around you back at home? You may not have a community in New York City, but if you're able to build community in your own region, you're probably like good enough to build community somewhere else. A lot of artists hit me up about playing this thing, and I'm like, dude, you haven't built community around yourself first in your own region. I don't have people vouching for you who are like, yo, this guy is awesome. What else? I put out a feeler looking for an artist for this festival, and there's a guy who I already had in mind who he was already like on the lineup, but it wasn't publicly announced. But I said, hey, I'm looking for someone, and so many people were mentioning his name already. I just commented like, just wait, he's on it already. But that's what I want to see. I want to see people who have community around them.
That makes sense. It
Yeah.
attributes to your brand as well, what you're trying to achieve, right? So that makes a lot of
Leaders
sense.
only, no followers. I have no interest in associating with people who just follow. I don't have time for that. I'm too busy. But if you're a leader and you're trying to push and you want to take risks and lead from the front, then yo, let's grab food, let's grab coffee. I'm down.
Nice.
So I think our time is coming up.
Mm-hmm.
We'll shoot you with one last question.
Okay.
When you choose these supporting cast to your acts, do they get recommended by you, or you go out and search for them?
I actually I do scout.
You have
out a lot.
time to search for them is another question too.
I make the time to see what's out there.
Okay.
Although I don't publicly talk about it all the time, if people invite me to things or I connect with people online and what they do is intriguing, I go for it. I want to shout out a few people actually. These two girls in New York City, so Los Angeles and Charmy. They are house music DJs that I actually discovered through just like one of them through TikTok, and I saw they built their own community, the Our Block community, and they cultivate their own DJs and their own scene and started doing their own things in Brooklyn, and now they're doing big things in the city. I just found them randomly. I'm like, hey, like I'm gonna come out to your events, just check this out, because I care about scouting things out. And when I saw they built community, I was like, wow, this is so cool. But if you're just a DJ who's just like, I'm just DJing and I can do this, I don't care. Like, show me that you are doing something that is different. Show me that you're doing something that is like, hey, I'm building, I'm not just taking. So yeah.
Makes sense.
Sounds good.
Yeah, Brandon makes a lot of friends from like random events and stuff and takes them in. Like, it's pretty family, I think. Yeah.
So you have to be in the scene, though.
Yeah, you have to be
once
in the
again,
scene to
we
find
express
that.
plur, right?
Yeah.
You want to be approachable, even as a DJ. It's the whole thing we go by. Some of the best people we know in the DJ scene are the people you can just, even though they may be famous, if they notice you and they will acknowledge you, right?
It's
like
so important.
It's so like it's common sense, but like sometimes common sense isn't so common.
Exactly.
Yeah.
A
So
lot of people don't get that.
All right, that concludes our.
Wait. I have one more thing. I have gifts. I come bearing gifts.
yes.
I come bearing prizes. So you see
Wow.
this shirt that Christine is wearing to
My
my
favorite.
right, your left, if you're watching this video. I have shirts for both you guys.
Oh,
Woo!
shit.
And then Christine, do you have a purple one yet?
no,
Right,
I wanted to buy it. Yay! Thank you.
Yeah, let's go.
We'll hold it up. We'll hold it up.
We'll hold it
Hold
up.
up, yeah.
We'll hold it up.
The merch is available on DreamDriverOfficial.com.
They're great material. This is why I wear it all the time. It's not the first time I wore it.
Once
to the
again, it's
podcast.
all about you can't cheapen out,
Yeah.
right? If you cheapen out on your merch, then no one's gonna wear it because it's uncomfortable.
And not only that, I actually do the production of this by hand myself. So after work, I'll be at a
He's at a sweatshop in
MKC.
Long Island.
MKC Thread, shout them out, and putting these together with their team. So I learned how to work the machines and do all that, and that's a story for another time. But yeah, I work on all these pieces. So yeah.
All right.
Yeah, so if you have any questions for Brandon, you could DM us, DM me, or we'll put all the links below into his socials and our socials. And we'll see you next week. Thank you. Bye.
Thanks, Brandon, for the shirt.
Peace.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.